The acrid stench of burning rubber hit me before I saw the smoke. I was halfway down the driveway when a deafening boom shook the air, sharp and gut-punching. My boots skidded on gravel as I sprinted toward the garage. Flames devoured my '72 Chevy C10, licking up its sides like it was kindling. My heart sank. That truck was my dad's. I'd spent 5 years restoring it, bolt by bolt. Now it was a bonfire in my front yard. The fire department arrived 12 minutes later, but the blaze had already chewed through everything: charred metal, blackened frame, shattered glass. Gone. I knew exactly who was responsible: Sandra. Her real name was Ellen Warwick, but everyone in the neighborhood called her Sandra behind her back, even the mail carrier. She was the self-proclaimed queen of the Willow Creek HOA, not an official title, but one she'd seized 3 years ago and never relinquished. She ruled like a dictator, issuing fines for unpainted mailboxes or lawn ornaments she didn't like. I once got a violation notice because my trash can lingered curbside for 20 minutes after pickup. But this was no petty grudge, it was war. It started with a note 3 days earlier, stuffed in my door. No envelope, just shaky handwriting. That truck ruins Willow Creek's charm. Remove it, or it'll be removed. I laughed, tossed it, and moved on. Big mistake. I underestimated Ellen's spite. The next morning, I filed a police report for arson. The fire marshal confirmed it traces of gasoline around the wheel wells. Someone had doused my truck and lit it up. Got any enemies? The officer asked, zipping his jacket. Just one, I said. He nodded, scribbling. Got cameras. That's where Ellen slipped up. I'd installed a new security system 2 weeks prior, motion activated, infrared, full coverage after finding a dead bird in my mailbox. I thought it was a prank then. No? I wasn't sure. That night, I reviewed the footage. There she was, Ellen Warwick, midnight, in a bathrobe and gardening gloves, lugging a gas can and a lighter like she was watering plants. She didn't even hide her face, just poured, lit, and strolled off. I stared, stunned. This wasn't HOA nonsense anymore. It was a crime. I burned the video to a USB and drove to the precinct. 2 detectives watched it and took it seriously. They needed a few days for a warrant, but had enough to question her. That gave me time to plan. I wasn't just some guy with a torch truck. I'm Nathan Cole, former city zoning officer, part-time code consultant. For 15 years, I helped neighborhoods build compliant HOAs. I knew their playbook and how to dismantle a rotten one. The next morning, I requested the HOA's financials under the Sunshine Act. Ellen had messed up there, too. Willow Creek's municipal ties made its records public. What I found was ugly. Due loss $70,000 funneled into a beautification fund. Over 2 years, no receipts, no vendors, just vague labels like upgrades or aesthetic improvements. I drove around, no new landscaping, no repaved roads. Nothing. Except Ellen's house. Her colonial at the cul-de-sacs and sported a new roof, stone driveway, and a backyard fountain worth more than my truck. HOA bylaws ban board members from approving personal property upgrades. Gotcha. I compiled everything: financials, bylaws, her arson video into a folder, and called a friend at a local news station. She owed me for helping her cousin with a zoning issue. She ran the story. By Thursday, headlines screamed, HOA president probed for arson, embezzlement. I sipped coffee on my porch, watching neighbors whisper over their phones. No one defended Ellen, not even her loyal sidekick, Martha, who used to patrol like a deputy. But I wasn't done. By noon, detectives pulled up to Ellen's house. She didn't answer their knocks. They waited. A cruiser arrived, and they went in. 15 minutes later, they let her out in cuffs. She screamed, "This is harassment. He's lying. That man's a menace." I waved. She lunged, but an officer held her back. "I warned you, Nathan. That truck was an eyesore." I smirked. Enjoy jail. That should have been enough, but I wanted her power gone for good. At the next HOA meeting in the clubhouse, a beige box reeking of Lysol air crackled with tension. Folding chairs overflowed with residents who hadn't cared about policy in years. I walked in with a folder and bylaws in my pocket, backed by Tom, a retired carpenter fined for non-compliant blinds, and Lisa, a teacher dinged law 200 for Leah VYing her Christmas lights up past January 1st. They were furious and ready. Interim Treasurer Diane fidgeted at the podium. "We'll start with roll call," I cut in. "Point of order. I'm submitting a motion to dissolve the board under Article 7, Subsection D, Clause 3. It allowed a no-confidence vote if over 50 fan-tram of homeowners filed grievances about misconduct. Lisa held up notarized forms. 73 signatures. Diane's hands shook as she took them. Tom grinned. We've been busy. A guy in the back, Roger from Maple Lane, stood. I seconded. Let's vote. By the end, the board was gutted. Leah VYing only Diane, who was trustworthy, and a quiet accountant, Sanjay, who'd never rocked the boat. The rest were out. Afterward, I met Diane and Sanjay in the clubhouse's back room, where dusty filing cabinets hid Ellen's secrets. I brought gloves and a flashlight. Diane had the master key. We found chaos fake landscaping bills, cash withdrawal receipts, invoices with Ellen's signature over erased names. One stood out, a payment to Warwick Consulting for community enhancements. I Googled it, no website, just a P.O. box. A shell company. She was paying herself, I said. Diane sighed. She locked everything up, said it was above us. I didn't push. You didn't start this, I replied. But we'll end it. I photographed everything and filed a report with the state attorney general. Embezzlement, fraud, forgery. They acted fast, especially with Ellen's arrest. Investigator Karen Ainsley called next morning. You're thorough. Ellen wasn't. She's in holding, but this is big. How big? Multiple properties in her name, 3 counties, all cash, all bought since she took over. She ran the same scam elsewhere. The news broke 2 days later. HOA fraud ring exposed. Neighbors from other communities called Diane, asking how we did it. Ellen's house went dark, a foreclosure sign slapped on her lawn. She'd mortgaged it to hide more cash. We rewrote the HOA charter at Diane's kitchen table, banning discretionary fines, mandating audits, requiring resident votes on big spending, and barring lifetime board rolls. At the next barbecue, Lisa handed me a burger by the grill. No citations for loud music today, she said. I grinned. To peace and quiet. But trouble lingered. A week later, a letter from Ellen's lawyer accused me of defamation and illegal surveillance, threatening a lawsuit. I showed it to Ainsley. Scare tactic, she said. She committed a felony. You recorded it legally. Countersue for harassment. I hired Greg Holt, a lawyer who looked like he'd argue with a brick wall and win. This'll be fun, he said. In court, Ellen showed up in a neck brace, playing Tim. Greg tore through her defense, presenting records, the arson video, and neighbors' testimonies about her fines. One retiree said Ellen's penalties nearly cost her home. The judge ruled for us, ordering Ellen to pay damages enough for 2 trucks. Her criminal trial loomed. Willow Creek changed. Kids played freely, mailboxes got wild paint jobs. We started a tool co-op, a community garden, MOVY nights. My new truck, bright blue, loud, sat proudly in my driveway. Then Ainsley called again. Early. We need you downtown. It's bigger than we thought. In a war room plastered with maps and notes, she pointed to a board. Ellen wasn't alone. Multiple HOAs funneled money through fake companies tied to one entity, Urban Progress Associates. It wasn't real, just a front to launder cash via fake projects. Ellen was listed as a consultant under aliases. A folder showed forged permits, fake letters, and a DULA 52,000 transfer labeled sidewalk repairs. Our sidewalks were crumbling. This is organized, Ainsley said. State level, maybe federal. I became an expert consultant for the DOJ, breaking down HOA loopholes in a room with auditors and a DOJ rep, Marcus Tate. They uncovered DULA 2 million misappropriated across 15 HOAs, 7 shell companies. Ellen's home yielded a hidden ledger, transactions, names, compliant boards. 4 board members were arrested, 2 fled. Ellen flipped, naming contacts and summit venues where they planned scams, disguised as leadership retreats. A RICO case followed racketeering charges. Back home, I dug into a vacant lot Ellen's board had fenced off as HOA utility space. A surveyor confirmed it was never HOA property. It belonged to a bankrupt developer. I filed a quiet title action and won it. We turned it into a community hub, tool library, workshop, stage for music nights. Kids painted murals. Tom built a fire pit. We called it the lot. One evening, Carol sat beside me with cookies. 5 people volunteered for next year's board, she said. People learned we can't stay quiet. The DOJ sent a thank you letter, crediting me for indicting 23 people. Ellen got 12 years for arson, fraud, and conspiracy, plus restitution. Every resident got a check. Mine covered my truck and more. The lot thrived: greenhouse, workshops, classes. No fines, just projects. I kept the old truck's wreckage in my garage, a reminder of what we'd almost lost. One night, I saw a kid chalk "Welcome Home" on the sidewalk. I nodded and kept walking.